Hey, this is a bit heavy. What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at a sample or a great example of a guitar pedal board and looking at this as an overview style video, so talking you through the different types of common guitar effects pedals, the order that they should be in, and what each of them gives you, as I say, as a broad overview of what's available. We are mainly looking at Boss effects pedals, the reason being is because Boss are really the guitar stompbox effects, so these single type effects that all other effects pedals are sort of measured against. They are just so commonplace, so universally available, and generally of very good quality that even if some other specific effects pedals can be considered to be better than or worse than or more expensive or less expensive, everything is kind of compared to the Boss range as the sort of average or medium of them all. And they do offer a very broad range. As I say, they're available everywhere. The only one that I have here that isn't a Boss pedal is my Tube Screamer. And that is just because I have it and it's probably my favourite pedal, but I'll be talking you through this a bit more generally. These three aren't plugged in at the moment, my Tuner, Tube Screamer or my Wah pedal. That's just practically because I haven't got enough plugs to do them at the moment, but we will be plugging everything in at some point in this video. I'm also going to be breaking down more specific in separate videos exactly what each effect does as a bit more in depth. But to keep it general, we have an overdrive, a distortion, a chorus pedal, a delay, a reverb, and then this one, as I say, is a tuner, Tube Screamer, which is an overdrive, sometimes used, I would use it as a boost for solos and things. And then we have a wah pedal, which is obviously synonymous with kind of the Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Child sound, amongst many other things, but we'll be sampling that kind of thing. Well, let's have a quick listen to what each pedal does, just quickly to get started. This is the clean sound from this Fender Stratocaster. I'm going through a vintage valve amp. I'll link to exactly what I'm using in the description below this video. But that's my clean sound. With the OD3, the overdrive. Distortion. Distortion to get us a little bit, see the potential? Chorus, just with everything in the middle. That's the chorus. Delay, currently set to a slapback, which would be used in sort of things as that kind of thing. Or if we increase that delay time, let's go to a different setting actually. That's what I'm looking for. So that is now on the, sorry if you can't see, the 800 milliseconds range. Though we can do that slightly, and that will give us the U2 sound. Bit too much effect level there, and maybe some more feedbacks, maybe a little bit quick. And I could combine it with a little bit of overdrive, perhaps, give it a bit more back. That will give us that U2 sound. We have a reverb, which some people can get kind of confused with a delay, because it's kind of like lots of little delays really. But the idea with the reverb, that's the guitar clean, and then with reverb, we have this sound of a space. Now that's really what the reverb is. So So anything we play, if we play it short and sharp, the tuner does exactly the same as what a clip-on tuner would do, so I'm not really going to demo that one because it really would look exactly the same as this. The only difference between using a tuner in the pedal board is it's much more convenient when you're playing a gig, because you can stand on it and it mutes the sound, and it's kind of a lot bigger and a lot clearer, and it keeps all your pedals in the same place. This, could fly off at a gig very easily, and that would be quite embarrassing. But really, the tuner pedals are only needed when you are sort of gigging regularly and using a lot of pedals in this sort of fashion. The Tube Screamer I'm demoing in a separate video all on its own and comparing it to the OD3 and some other things, and the Wha I will be demoing a little bit later. So let's have a quick listen to the difference between overdrive and distortion, because this is a big question for a lot of beginners, and I've picked up my Les Paul guitar now so that we can hear the sounds of the humbuckers really working, in particular the distortion. So this is the clean sound with overdrive. With everything just, I've taken the volume down there. I'll explain why in a second, why I've got these settings, but I just want to really show the difference first of all, the distortion. That's a quick blast of the difference. Now let's just put everything back to the middle. So obviously we should be able to hear there that tone-wise, this was our clean. This added a more natural sounding kind of overdrive or boost that could almost have come from the amp. And then with the distortion, it's a little bit more of an artificial sound. It's heavier, and we would commonly describe it as having more scooped out mids. So this and the overdrive are quite middle heavy, like bass, middle and treble. Distortion typically sort of grabs all those mids out and possibly boosts the EQ wise, can boost the treble and the bass. Just already, without doing anything, a lot of distortion pedals naturally do that. So just quickly describing where these effects are sort of derived from. Guitar amps back in the 60s didn't used to really have a gain or overdrive on them like we do these days. It's quite common to have an amplifier which has a clean channel and an overdrive channel on an amplifier these days. But back then, you used to have to just turn it up kind of too loud, and then the amp might naturally kind of start to distort or be overdriven. And overdrive is kind of simulating that, but in a pedal. That's what this pedal does. And we can also call, the overdrive from an amplifier as well. If it's more that kind of natural amp being driven too hard or overdriven, that's kind of what happens. Even if we have like very little, the drive all the way down to the bottom, you can hear that the amp is being driven a little harder when the pedal is activated, and that is overdrive. And the overdrive can, of course, simulate quite a distortion type sound. It really can get up there depending on the pedal and things that you use. But distortion, typically, always a bit more trebly, always a bit more mid-scooped. So lacking that middle, that pokiness to it, and a lot more higher frequencies. And it's literally almost EQing the pedal for you like you would EQ your amp, just from the type of effect. Now what it's typically best to do with these pedals is adjust the volume so that when you activate the pedal, there's not actually a volume boost unless that's what you're wanting, unless you're wanting to have this as a solo, in which case you would, this would be my normal sound. And then I activate my pedal. It's boosted a lot more so that I can be heard over the band or do a solo or something. But typically this overdrive pedal's pretty hot, it's pretty loud. So we probably want it about there. I think this DS1 is actually quite quiet, so I'm going to stick the volume up a little bit to be a little bit fairer to it. And kind of stick it about there. So these two pedals are really classic examples of what an overdrive and a distortion pedal are typically expected to do. A lot of people get the terms confused. That's the main difference. Overdrive is a little bit more cleaner and sort of more of driving your amp a little bit harder, but getting that natural sound that your amp is doing. Distortion, the signal or the sound, is digitally clipped a little bit more to produce a more artificial sounding, more towards the metal and heavier rock genres. Both of those pedals can be considered to be processors. They are actually processing your sound and changing the entire characteristic of your sound. And those two would have to go somewhere near the start of your pedal board. Typically we would possibly have the tuner first, I would say, and then overdrive and then distortion after it. I would put them in that order. We can, of course, stick them both on. And then we'll kind of have this endless sustain thing going on. And all the notes that we're playing kind of last a lot longer. If we put them in a different order, you can get different effects, but typically overdrive first, then distortion, and then you get on to any multitude of modulation type effects, which all modulation effects, in a way, in my opinion, I would say derive somewhat from chorus, and chorus is like the primary one of them. And in a way, they're actually a version of a delay, but we'll try and simplify a little bit and go for what the chorus does first of all and see what the range of sounds is. So to hear what it's doing again, if I have a clean guitar sound, the chorus just adds this different style of effect to it. And all it's doing is just duplicating your same sound. So like a very slight delay, or like when you strum a chord, it's like you've suddenly got two of them, or more of that, like a chorus of people, like a chorus of a choir. And when they're played together, it digitally sounds like this kind of reflective and kind of watery sound, I would say. This is clean. And then the chorus comes in. And it sort of starts modulating the sound slightly, starts to have a ripple to it, which is why I would say. And, let me think of some riffs that use some chorus. Many 80s riffs, basically. A lot of Queen. And a lot of kind of great on lead guitar stuff. Let's have a listen to the range of this though, because this can go really crazy. Effect level up a bit, rate up, so we start to get. It starts to sound a bit like a Dalek. And this to me starts to sound a little bit like. You know, kind of the 80s rock sound, The Cure, a lot of stuff, these sort of effects really gained popularity and became a lot more in mainstream music in the 80s. So kind of any 80s guitar rock will possibly have some type of chorus, some type of delay on them. That's when it was really kind of overused to try and compete with all the new synthesizers and computers and stuff. One of my favourite bands, Status Quo, uses chorus quite a bit. Delay, 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 delay is a quick example to show you guys exactly what a delay does. It is a repetition of whatever sound you play on your guitar. One thing to bear in mind is you won't always hear really what a delay is doing unless you play a short, sharp sound and mute it straight away. If I play the same A major chord but let it ring, didn't really hear what my delay was doing then. Play short and sharp and you will, and this is taken advantage of, as I say, by bands like U2. What was that more recent song that sort of ripped off U2 totally? Yeah, Shut Up and Dance With Me, that was the one. Completely rips off U2, but you know, it's a really good song. What we start to get into the world of here are different types of effects which have some sort of time delay. The actual time of each repetition starts to really matter. If we have a short amount of time, like this, that's more of a slapback. You just hear them going repetition, and if we decrease the amount of slapbacks, it's kind of just one there. Play once, we hear it twice. And if I increase that feedback, I like it. Start to get some weird stuff happening. I'll tell you exactly what these sort of do, so you can start to use them a lot better. But let me just quickly show you the range of stuff that we can do. So what I was playing there was that sort of thing, and then here whatever I play sort of repeated. I can repeat it just like the once maybe. Miss playing with delays, it's really fun. So one thing to note is that delay is a repetition of the exact same sound that you're making, and we can have one repetition of that, da-da, or we can have a few of them, or we can have a lot of them. And that's what our feedback kind of does. And the actual level of the volume is changed by level. It's just the level of the feedback. For example, and as I say, feedback can give us one repetition, it can give us a few, or it can give us loads and loads that keep growing and growing. Unless we kind of keep that down and keep it under control. Delay time is where all the business end is really on a delay, because everything is kind of times based. So if I stick it back to the 800 milliseconds one, because that's when, let me make sure I'm on the right one, yes. So everything's in the middle. This is where on that one is where typically all the range of the useful kind of delay numbers are. The easiest one is the slapback, where you just want to get it on that 800 and reduce the amount of time. Probably right down to the bottom. Let's get the level up a little bit, but reduce the feedback. And that will give us a nice kind of delay. Nice and groovy for the 60s type stuff. sound there. And then for that more U2 delay sound, we're wanting to get a feel where it's dependent on the BPM. This is where we get into trickiness. To keep it kind of simple and to get a feel for it, if your BPM is this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you need your delay sound to be on the count of my voice, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that kind of just going over the beat, and I'll have a bit of a demo of exactly how to, as I said, this is just a general overview of all these kind of pedals. So we can hear if our BPM is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means that if we play to that kind of rhythm, then we're going to get. And then there's a catastrophic technical failure where the delay pedal suddenly comes off, and instead of sounding rocking, what the Edge is actually playing is. Like something like that. Very funny. I will have to link to that in the description because it really shows you the power of the delay pedal, really, you know, sound really rocking. And I think the delay pedal is really responsible for giving bands like U2 that stadium or arena sound, because that's what being in a bigger space can sound like. It can sound like a lot of delays, which is actually how a reverb, which is simulating the sound of a space. So this is what my reverb of this room, for example, sounds like. That's the tiniest bit, barely audible, but I'm sure you can hear it a bit more on my voice if you think about it and listen to it, that there is an echo in this room that's very short. If we make that echo or reverb longer, it suddenly sounds like I am in a stadium, or what is more commonly referred to as a hall. That's the sound of being in a hall or cathedral. And then if I'm in a smaller room, let's change it to the room delay. And it sounds a bit more like this room but bigger, or this room sound but with the actual reverb effect turn up. So that effect level is here, so with it off, with it on a little bit, with it on a lot, starts to sound, and we start to kind of hear, hopefully, that it's actually a lot of little delays. If we make the delay pedal a, let's have a think about this, let's put it there, time right down. Delay time, sorry, is there. There we go, starts to sound. A bit more like a drill there, sorry. That starts to sound a bit like a reverb. Not a million miles away anyway. Maybe if I did that. There you go. That sounds like a reverb. And that's all the reverb is, but there's so many of them, and they're so some are larger, some are small. It's not as controllable as this, and as I say, that simulates the sound of a space. Reverb therefore should always come last. If you put a reverb pedal before your distortion, the distortion pedal will be distorting the reverb. Again, there will be some song examples, you know, Johnny Greenwood did that on this song. I can hear someone commenting that now. But yeah, those are the type of things that go a little stranger. So here you can see that we have lots of different stomp box type effects, all on a pedal board, which is one way to get a lot of different sounds with your guitar through effects. Another way to do it, and a very common way, and one that I am a fan of for some people, is going the multi-effects route. This is my very old multi-effects pedal. I think I bought this in about 2009. That was to replace the other Boss Effects pedal that had just done too many gigs and had too many drinks spilled upon it and just kind of stopped working. I used to have an ME50, the blue one. This is an ME70. discontinued, and but because this is a pedal that I've used so many times, when I first was in a wedding and function band and needing to get a lot of different sounds in my cover band, this was a great solution to that. Towards, after a couple of years in that band, I found that we only really needed certain effects, so it was really the tube screamer, the tuner, and then a delay pedal, and that pretty much did all the effects that I needed in the band, even though it was a big range of tunes. Didn't need a wah-wah pedal, didn't need anything crazier than that. But here you can really see the fact that we have, they're put in a different order. So here we have the input from the guitar at one side, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's last and this is first. In this case, the input is up here, actually here, guitar input, and then it shows you the order here that it goes through, which is kind of this way around. So the way it's laid out is just the more common ones at this side, perhaps the less common ones at this side. But you can see the actual order here, simulating, that's your amp. This is some sort of compression or effects, that's your overdrive pedal, modulation and delay. That's what this pedal is simulating. It is simulating all of these pedals, and therefore a multi-effects can be a really affordable option to get a lot of different sounds. For example, I actually picked this one up second hand a few years ago for about £100 from eBay, and even the delay pedal itself, for example, is a little bit over £100. I think the wah pedal here, which you've got to presume is very similar at least to this wah pedal, because they're both made by Boss, this would be about £100. Tube Screamer, a little bit over £100. Overdrive, just under, about 80, etc, etc. But you can start to see how it can really mount up price-wise, and an effects pedal can be a really affordable way to do it. The downside is that these can be a lot harder for beginners especially to kind of get their head around to do. And what you end up doing, rather than using the stomp box mentality, which I kind of like, and I think most guitarists like, we end up just relying on presets and just going from the Van Halen sound to the, U2 sound to an Angus Young sound, but none of them can really sound like it because you don't know if you're just using, the presets, excuse me. You're not tweaking the sound to actually get the sound that you're wanting in your head. So stomp boxes, as these are called, are a really good example of how to, get actually used to each individual sound and tweak it and actually find how to make the sounds that you're wanting. These are great and more affordable, but can be a lot more confusing. The easiest range that I've known of how to for student friendly and guitarist friendly and beginner friendly are the ME series, because it's more of this stomp box effect, and then make your choice depending on budget and whichever preference is for you. Many people will say there is a right and wrong about this stuff and that multiple effects can be kind of bad. I would only say the ones that are kind of bad are the very budget ones, perhaps by certain manufacturers that sort of get this multiple effects business really wrong. Again, when they don't allow you to tweak the sounds, the more they do that, I don't like them. I'm a big fan of the Boss ones, I have to say. There are many others. The GT series by Box is kind of very amazing and is used by a lot of superb guitarists on tour that kind of tour. And then there's a single stomp box way of doing it. And of course, these days we do have these things on apps and phones and iPads and whatever else. I'm looking to explore all these options going forward, but these are kind of the main two from a practical kind of physical box that you plug in and then plug into your amp kind of mentality. I think that's enough for this first video. I will be demoing the Tube Screamer and the wah-wah pedal in separate videos, because I'm going to have to rejig all of this and think about how I'm going to do more of an Effects Pedal 101 series. I hope you will join me for this sort of Effects Pedal series. Future videos will be a lot more spread over different brands, but as I say, to give you guys an overview, I definitely thought that Boss was the way to go. They are the primary recommendations, and I have purchased a lot of Boss pedals in the past myself, as I'm sure many other people have. Remember to subscribe if you like this video and you dig what I do, and let me know your favourite effects pedals in the comments, and let me know what videos you would like me to make on an effects pedal kind of series. I will see you again, guys. Bye for now.